made, that is potentially life-threatening.
Leaving Hayu and the team celebrating victory, I continued my journey north, skirting the Danakil and heading for Bahale. Ismail had said that if anyone could pinpoint the location of Dalol, the salt traders could. Bahale is a nexus for the salt trade, and since few other people have a reason to brave the heat of the depression, it seemed like the logical place to go. This unprepossessing little town wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the mineral wealth of the Danakil. Each year, according to the traders, 1 million camels pass through here on their way to the Afar miners, scraping away at the surface of the depression. The scrupulously polite Mr. Bizrat, my interpreter for this stage of the journey, was one of the few people in the area who could speak English. He suggested we talk to the village elders, and it was here that my trip received a severe blow. The Mullah Shah Ali and the caravan leader, Belair Shoba, explained that Dalol was an area, not a settlement. They guessed that the place in the record books was a US potash mine that had been abandoned in the 1960s. It was a huge disappointment, but I got this far and I wasn't about to turn back.
And can he do that for me?
I'd come to see how people cope with life in extreme heat, and what better way of doing that than accompanying a salt caravan to the Danakil salt mines. A rather large amount of Ethiopian birr changed hands, and the deal was done.
There we are. Thank you very much.
According to Mr. Belair, I was about to become the first European to accompany the salt traders on their route to the mines.
They're saying that we haven't seen such white people walking down there. It's very, very difficult to cross, especially one particular place called Gara. It's awful and very difficult place.
I don't want it easy, Mr. Bizrat.
No, it's difficult.
You don't ride the camels at all, you just use them as pack animals.
I have to admit that I had expected to ride the camels down. I mean, they're not actually carrying anything much. But no, we're going to walk, and it's a 3-day walk there and a 3-day walk back. And I actually don't remember last time I walked 3 days in a row. Anywhere, actually. I'm not really used to walking large distances. It's going to be stupidly hot down there. I just know it. And I hope I don't come back strapped to a camel with heat stroke.
Mr. Belair insisted I'd be cooler on the journey in native dress. I felt just like an Afar, apart from my hat and possibly my shoes. We were leaving the next morning, and it was time to join the throng at the well to fill up with our most crucial supply. It was a 2-day walk to the next drinking water, and on my daily consumption, I was going to need at least 1 goatskin, or 20 litres. Messrs. Bizrat and Belair, used to the heat, needed only half that amount, so we filled 2. Thankfully, en route to the Danakil, it was the camels that carried the water. Next morning, we were up at 5 a.m. packing and marshalling the caravan. By 6, I was given the honour of leading off this caravan heading for hell.
I'm surprised myself that so far you didn't demand any water.
Yeah, Wow.
Mr. Bizrat didn't appear to have much faith in my endurance, but then the logistics of this journey are pretty finely judged. It was a 6-day round trip that was so punishing that after it, both man and camel had to have 2 weeks' rest. Mr. Bizrat said that it was something called the Gara, or fire wind, that really took it out of you. We'd be facing that tomorrow, and from the look of the other caravans returning laden with salt, it wasn't going to be fun. I'm not looking forward to that fire wind.
Oh,
Sounds like you're going into hell.
burns you, you know. It's very tough.
Yeah,
Very tough.
Our route followed a ravine which sliced through the foothills of the Simeon Mountains. After about 25 kilometres, we came across the welcome sight of caravans resting, a sign that we too were about to stop for the rest of the day. With the guys, I was sort of keeping a stiff upper lip, but I'm knackered. I don't think I'm drinking enough water either, because I really am sweating buckets. So I hope we have a decent rest here, and then continue. It was day 2 of the journey, the day of the fire wind. But the traders' spirits were high, as after a restful night further up the ravine, we approached Asabolo. Emerging from the ravine, I was confronted by more camels than I'd ever seen before. It was a vital spot on the salt route, for reasons to do with camel physiology. For this was the last drink they'd get until they returned in 2 days' time, having been in and out of the depression. In temperatures of 50 degrees, that's as long as the traders let their camels go without water.
That feels... very good. Very good indeed.
Let's take the advantage of this beautiful, blessed water.
Yeah.
So,
The last bit of blessed water.
how do you feel anyway?
Feel okay, actually. Very good for all this water. But I have to say, I am looking forward to the next bit, but I'm also a bit afraid. Asabolo had the feeling of a holiday camp, since all anyone did there was wash themselves, feed their camels, and take drugs. Before Mr. Belair shared out the cat, or mirror, he led us in prayers for our safe return from the Danakil. Mirror is the Ethiopian equivalent of the coca leaf, and Mr. Belair and his team used it to prepare themselves for the ordeal that lay ahead. The Gara.
Sheikh Bala'a is saying that while we chew the mira, it keeps you wake up your mind and concentrate on something.
We spent the rest of the morning chewing, but at 2 p.m. the ordeal started. It goes against every rule of desert survival to travel in the heat of the day, but we were doing just that. Needless to say, it's all down to the camels. The last staging post en route to the mine is Hamadella, which lies on the very edge of the depression, still 3 hours' walk from the mine itself. At Hamadella there isn't enough water for the camels, and when there's no water, the traders prefer to rest the camels in the cool of the night. Therefore they always time their 6-hour walk to Hamadella in order to arrive in the evening. The big drawback is that you have to walk through the Gara.
Is this as strong as it gets, Mr. Bizrat?
Yeah, this is just nothing, sir.
What do you mean this is nothing?
This is nothing.
It's blowing half a gale.
Most deserts have their winds, the Harmattan in the Sahara, the Santa Ana in California, but the Gara was the nastiest I'd experienced. I really never learned my lesson. When I heard about this fire wind, I thought it sounded like an interesting piece of meteorology, which it is, I suppose, but it's also indescribably hot, as well as the sun. It really is like, it's like an inferno, and the power is extraordinary, and it's dry, just so dry. I felt like a chicken inside a fan-assisted oven. If there was any consolation, it was that you didn't suffer alone. The caravan now stretched as far as I could see. This right? Are we nearly there?
Yeah.
I was so shattered by the time we got to Hamadella that I could do nothing but collapse and sleep. The morning ritual was becoming horribly familiar. Up at 4:30, saddle the camels and move off. Only today, we were heading 3 hours into the middle of the hottest salt flat in the world. The sun was hidden by the ever-present haze, but as we left, the temperature was already 39 degrees. By the time we got there, it was 46, and we were walking on salt up to 5 kilometers deep, deposited over hundreds of thousands of years as the seawater that used to fill this depression evaporated.
Well done.
We're here.
Well
Dear
done,
me.
You're the man.
You're the man too, mate.
Fantastic.
Wow. I've never seen anything like this before in my entire life. If they were in England, the health and safety executive would make them wear goggles.
Yeah.
The typical Afar miner's working day goes something like this. 4 a.m, get up and walk 3 hours to the salt mine. 7 a.m, start cutting or shaping or loading salt. 1 p.m, stop and walk 3 hours back to Hamadella through the hottest part of the day. All that 6 days a week in return for a maximum of $28, if you cut a hell of a lot of blocks and struck a hell of a good deal with the trader you sold to. So, this side first. It's not an easy object to handle, is it?
I'm saying if he's tried 2 days, he will be perfect. But right now, he's not good enough.
Okay, so I need a couple of days training.
Yes.
Right.
So you are going to stay here 2 days.
Having failed as a shaper, I tried my hand at cutting, but that was even worse.